Hi, and welcome back. This is Garima, and you are listening to the Garima Avtar Show. In this podcast, I talk to various sports personalities, coaches, and experts who are trailblazers in their fields to get answers about the psychology in sports, the importance of mental health, and how it affects performance on the field and generally in life. Well, in today's episode, I have with me Armaan Ebrahim, a race car driver who became the national champion at 14 and the world's youngest driver in A1 GP at 16. He became the youngest driver ever to participate in the GP2 Asia Championship, where he finished in the top 10. Armaan became the first Asian to get a podium finish in the F2 Championship at Circuit de Valencia. The F2 website voted Armaan the driver with the best race form. His average showed that he overtook 8 cars per race. Armaan started with karting, then moved on to a successful stint in Formula LGB. Then came Formula BMW Asia. He won the glory of representing Team India at the A1 Grand Prix Championship. He has driven in the British Formula Renault Championship and in Formula V6 Asia, where he bagged 5 race wins. Post his single-seater stint, he moved on to sports cars, representing brands such as BMW and then Lamborghini. With the Lamborghini, he won the 2016 Super Trofeo Championship in class. Across the checkered flag, Armaan has taken the racing world by storm, both nationally and internationally. Thanks for joining me, Armaan. Great to have you on my show.
Hi, Garima. Pleasure being here. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so tell me, to begin with, what have been your learnings from the racing track?
I mean, you learn so much, as you know. I mean, every time you get on track, you learn something new. Every lap that you go around the circuit on, you learn something about the car. You learn something about the surface. You learn something about the circuit itself, in every aspect of motorsport, right? But then again, obviously at a very young age, what it does is for kids, what it does is it teaches you self-confidence. It teaches you how to be a team player. It teaches you how to go out on your own and fend for yourself. Because one, it is a team sport, but two, once you leave the pit lane, it's you and the vehicle, alone. So there are different aspects to the sport, but in the end, you have to build that pyramid all together and build an ecosystem around you. So it teaches you that at a very young age, and you kind of become an adult very soon when you take this as a profession, like other professional athletes, I would say. But motorsport is, in India especially, it's such and so unique that it isn't it hasn't been a mainstream sport. So it requires a lot more effort in terms of what you need to do to try and to put yourself out there. Especially when you start racing abroad, you need to go start meeting hundreds of companies, try and get your budgets together, try to explain to them what they actually gain out of sponsoring someone like you who's an athlete who's in the field of motorsport. So again, it teaches you the marketing side of things and how to kind of put yourself out there and try to sell you as a brand. So again, that's something else that it teaches you as a very young age. So when you add all these things together, once you grow up, and actually it doesn't matter what else you do in your life after that, even if you do become a professional motorsport athlete, or if you take up something else, all these learnings actually help you as become a young adult and then become a professional in whatever field you choose.
No, fabulous. I mean, definitely there are so many things we end up learning from the track, the confidence,
Yeah.
your marketing skills, and so much more. You've spoken about such. Tell me, the Formula 2 website, had voted you the driver with the best race form, So how did you train yourself to reach such high fitness levels, and, what was your gym routine like?
As you go up the ranks, obviously it gets a lot more strenuous. The cars get bigger, so the G-forces are a lot more. So it requires a lot of attention physically to your body, but also as you work on yourself physically, it's also as important to apply yourself mentally as well. And sometimes it's not that easy to get the right balance. So for you to understand that, the mental side of things is as important as the physical as well. Because for me as a kid growing up, luckily I got introduced to a good trainer at a very young age, and he kept me on the ball. Plus, also I was thrown to the deep end when I had to do A1 Grand Prix when I was 16. When all I was racing was from the BMW, which is a 150 bhp car, and then getting thrown to a car that was 550 horsepower. It was quite a huge jump, when I was 16. So immediately the whole fitness routine had to change and the strength had to come in. So since then I kind of kept that level going right up until I got to Formula 2. But I mean, in between there was a little wake up call in one race, I think in Sepang, where it was physically very demanding, and that's when again I had to go and accelerate, just go to another level again and say that no, you cannot find yourself in this position where you are getting tired, because again, every lap, like I mentioned earlier, counts, and the results can go beside you by the flash of a pan. So you can't let opportunities go in motorsport. So so again, that was a wake up call, and and you just had to work much harder. So again, so I took my routine very seriously after that, and once after that point, I never really felt it difficult to drive a race car physically. I mean, at least I was always on top of that. But I think that's when I started to realize also, it's not, you can't just go and spend multiple hours in the gym 6 days a week. You also got to work on the mental side, because you have such a limited time on track.
Absolutely.
It's how you apply yourself in that limited time, and that's what generates the results. So you both go hand in hand, and it's how you balance it out and figure out which part of your body, your mind, or your body needs more work on,
Totally. Absolutely. So were there any, mental training exercises that you were specifically doing? You remember something which you like to share?
I mean, again, there were different. There were different exercises that I always feel, especially on the mental side, it works different ways for different people, right? There are different routines or different exercises work for individuals, various individuals. What worked for me and evolved over time. In the beginning of my career, it was a sort of meditation that would follow with certain patterns which would happen every morning, and that would kind of get the switch on, and also keep me calm. But as the years went on, it went into different ways to get to get the mental balance going, or to get your concentration levels focused on a certain aspect that you're going to be focused on, a certain event that you're going to. So it could be even just wearing your overalls and your whole gear, going to a dark room with with your laptop screen on, watching an onboard video, but using like a steering wheel which had a weight attached to it. So you're working out. So you're under the pressure. Your muscles are working, but you're focusing on your onboard video or someone else's for the next track that you're going to race on or drive on. So you're sitting there for 40 minutes and you're sweating, and then everything's going because you're sitting in a hot room. So you're simulating that whole process, but it's on your real time, your own video of sorts. So it's easy to drive a simulator because at least then you're doing something and you concentrate. But here, when you're watching a video, to concentrate on that for 40 minutes takes a lot of effort, right? Because you can easily just sit back and relax and get distracted. So that I feel towards the later part of my career, that routine really helped a lot, and that that got a lot of focus into my preparation for an upcoming event.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, Simone Biles, this American gymnast who had won 7 Olympic medals, she made news during Tokyo Olympics for standing up for mental health, amongst athletes. And, she had said that people don't understand that athletes also have anxiety. They do break down. And, and Indian sports as well, seldom we do hear, the athletes, talking about their... Very seldom we hear that they talk about their mental health, or they spread awareness amongst their friends or family or fans. In fact, Indian sports psychologist Chaitanya Sridhar, he had mentioned that mental health is pretty neglected in Indian sports, and it swept under the carpet. So. And so the function and the importance of psychology in sports is really talked about. It is not seen as something very cool or athletic, But more emphasis uh, generally is put on physical training than mental training. But in fact, I think mental side, as you said, it accounts for the larger part of the game. And I very firmly believe that, most of the times people, they succeed not because they're just working hard, but, you also need the correct mindset. So, what do you have to say on this? I mean, will you like to share any of the instances that you faced in your life where you
I
had
think I
to,
already mentioned it. I think I already
yeah,
mentioned, but
yeah,
yeah, when I'm training kids now as well, I quantify it as 70-30, and 70 being towards mental, and then 30 being towards the physical part. Because
yes, totally.
I mean, you can be super fit, but if you're mentally not there, you can drain yourself physically because you're mentally overworking yourself. So and if you can't apply yourself, then there's no point being the fittest driver on the grid. But so it does go hand in hand, but I do feel, especially in a sport like this, I qualified as 70-30. But again, I am coming to your first part of the point that you brought up with Indian sports and the focus being on the mental side. I think that has changed in the last decade.
It's
I
yes,
think
yes.
I think over the last decade, there's been a lot more focus on the approach and the mental aspect of the game. And you can watch I mean, any different field of sports, basically, whether it's athletics, cricket, football, whatever it may be, motorsport. You always have a sports psychologist. You always have the mental trainer who's there with the athletes, who's there with the team.
Yeah, that
Um,
makes so much of a
and
difference. Yeah.
and it does again, because in a team sport it has to bring people together. It's not about one person shining. In an individual sport, it's about making sure that peak performance comes at the right time. And also, it's taxing when you're competing for 10 months of the year. So again, getting that cool down time, keeping the focus going, and so many other things as well, because we all have personal lives and what goes on in that, how that shouldn't affect us when we're performing. But it's the same way when, for I think even working professionals, again, which is why I think even companies and conglomerates now have the necessary that they have to go and visit the mental coach or whatnot to perform well in business as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think uh, it's just the way the world has become, and also as we get more educated and more and as we're exposed to more things in life, we've just realized that, and obviously we've realized a little later than everyone else, but I would say in the last decade, we have put a lot of
Things have
emphasis
changed.
into the other
Definitely
side.
for the
Yeah.
better. Yes, yes. So, yeah, I mean, many athletes, they have some fixed rituals or, set of things that they do before the start of the game. It's basically to get the mind ready to get in the zone and all the stuff. So, do you also have any fixed rituals that you follow before the start of any race?
I mean, it's been a while since I've raced a car, to be honest. But obviously, there were different rituals that again kept changing or evolving through the years.
Okay.
Like I said, I mean, there was a certain amount of. I mean, I would meditate in the morning at one stage where there are different breathing patterns, so you kind of visualize what you're going to do. But then that evolved into just maybe going for a run in the morning just to open up, free up, but you're still thinking about what you want to do, and then and you do a couple of, again, breathing exercises that just get you zoned in. But then you can't just be focused the whole day. You need to let yourself relax as well, and then and that's when you know when to switch on at the right time.
Hmm.
Because if what's one thing I learned is, if you're intense throughout the day, because again, in a sport like in motorsport, you have long days, right?
Yeah.
You might have a session in the morning, nothing till the afternoon, and then a session in the afternoon, and one in the evening, or then nothing the whole day till the afternoon, and then one in the evening. So how do you keep that zone going? So
Right, right.
you always have to be able to zone out and then come back in, and come
Oh,
back in at the right time, and make it count.
yeah.
Because
Hmm.
if you stay, tunnel vision, and you stay, kind of close and kept your your mind working right through the whole day, it's gonna get tired, and then when you have to perform, you'll suddenly find it wavering.
Right.
Um yeah, so that's one thing I learned, where depending on how your schedule is and how your day is, plan that, and also plan on how when to relax and when to let just random thoughts come in, and because then when you have to apply yourself, everything gets shut out.
Totally. I totally get you. Yes. So,
Mm.
Tell me, Armaan, so what's the best piece of advice that somebody has ever given to you?
I mean, best piece of advice. I mean, so much advice people have given over the years, isn't it? I mean, it's. But I guess the best thing would be to just be you and do you, and not trying to be something that you trying. I mean, you don't want to try and be someone else. You want to do what works best for you, and that brings out the best of yours, best of your abilities, always.
Yeah, be the best version of yourself.
Yeah.
Totally. Fantastic. Okay, so I had read somewhere where it was mentioned that you live your life as if the track marshal is just about to flag off the starting grid, always ready for the challenge. So how do you and what do you do to keep yourself motivated? I mean, do you
I
read
mean,
books, listen to podcasts, watch videos, or what do you do? I mean, to get your
yeah, for
regular
sure. I
dose of
mean,
motivation. Yeah.
the regular dose of motivation is just to keep finding new things to do in life, I guess, and
Okay.
and keep it going. Try to evolve with the times, and try to see what the next challenge is, or try to. I mean, right now the whole motivation is try and like I said, make motorsport mainstream, and trying to bridge the gap and try to make us put us on the same platform as anyone else in the world. But I mean, but there's still always a motivation or a drive to get in a car, and I don't think that light that has ever left.
Hmm.
Um, and but it's all about finding new challenges. It's all about keeping on your toes and finding new things to do.
No, that's
Um,
fabulous. That's
yeah,
fabulous. In
yeah.
fact,
And
yeah.
but sorry, like you said, yeah. I mean, obviously through the years, you do. I mean, I do read a lot. I have read a lot on the autobiographies and engineering books and whatnot. Because again, it's you've seen people who've done really well in the sport, who've not done so well, but also how they've gone about things. You want to understand that as well as you're creating your own path and your journey.
Totally.
And yeah, so obviously that's part of it. So, yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So tell me, your first, I remember your first international race, happened to be a solo trip to Malaysia. And you were just
Yeah.
13, 13 years old. It must have been quite an experience for me, for you, I'm sure. So tell me if you could meet your younger self who is striving to be where you are today. So what will be
Yeah.
that one piece of advice that you like to give to him? You know what?
Actually, my younger,
Yeah.
the first 2 years when I started, I had no fear whatsoever, and I just took one thing at a time. But as I got more conscious about again, the brand sponsors this and that, for a couple of years, I got very quite safe, as I'd say, So I would tell that side of myself, the one that got a little, that one that got a bit. Yeah, a bit complacent, basically. They're a bit aware of the surroundings. I'll tell that part of myself to just be a little more free.
Okay. Yeah.
The first 2 years of my of when I started my motorsport career, I mean carefree.
Right.
So I would leave that part the same. It's like I say, like I mentioned, it's the one after that for a year or two where I got very aware of what's going on, and I would tell that part of myself to let go.
Great, great. So I think that's an important one. Yeah, that those external
Yeah,
distractions and the external pressure, the stresses and all the stuff, I'm sure they start creeping up. So
yeah,
how to deal with all that and get over that kind of and stay focused on your
yeah.
sport. It's so success came very early to you, but I'm sure you had your own set of challenges also in your journey. So how did you overcome those challenges? I'm sure you had some. I mean, did you have some like or
I, I think any sporting journey or any journey nowadays in life, in whatever profession, you always have challenges and ups and downs. It's not always going to be smooth sailing. But again, it's I guess one is your self belief in yourself, to push on, to move on, to try and strive towards what you believe in. That will overcome whatever hurdles that come your way. Because even if it might delay you, you will still find a way to get. The hard work will still come through and help you find your way. But also you need to build a good support system in terms of friends and family who you have around you. You can always turn back on. Sorry. Um, uh, and and yeah, and you just keep marching on forward. You don't let little hurdles or little hiccups pull you back and stop you from doing what you love.
Totally. I mean, to have that kind of mindset where you just rise above all that and become resilient and just move on whenever one faces adversity or any challenge. I'm sure. Yes, fantastic. So, can you also talk about the different formats of races that you have participated in, and how do they differ from each other? How is that the GP2 Asia series? How is that different than F1?
So, so there are quite a few. I mean, again, like you mentioned, there's karting, then the national championship in India, which is Formula LGB, and then going to Formula BMW in Asia. That was a big change because the first time racing abroad, so different circuits, cars with wings and slick tires and whatnot. Because at that time in India, India didn't have any of that. Now we do. But going to that scenario, then from there going to A1, which is again you're racing against ex Formula One drivers. When my CV read national champion 2004, 2005 from a BMW and A1 Grand Prix, whereas the others are racing against Jos Verstappen who had driven 200 Grand Prix. So you look at that, you're like, oh, what am I doing here? But then you kind of throw all out of the window because on track everyone's the same. So just adapting to these different scenarios that you've been thrown into. But in the end, it's a car with four wheels with an engine, and you just have to drive the hell out of it and try to go as fast as you can, right? So when fast forward and you come to GP2 or F2, which was the FIA certified series, support series to Formula One. Basically that is the stepping stone to Formula One. That is the feeder series to Formula One, basically. So the format is a bit different. Actually, Formula One's coming towards Formula 2's format. As you can see, they're running the sprint races and then the main race in a few Grand Prix weekends. Whereas in Formula 2, they run that every weekend, where there's practice, qualifying, a sprint race, and a feature race, the main race. So it's just basically we do less weekends. We do about 7 to 10 weekends, so it's about 20 races rather than doing 20 weekends. It's about keeping budgets also kind of control, and rather than just going crazy with that. But there's that, and then from there you move to sports cars, where we race in GT3. Where I drove for BMW and then for Lamborghini. So there it's different because you share one car with another driver. So it's again working as a team. And trying to share the data and everything, and trying to make sure that the car itself and the two of you are very close pace wise, and so you all can get the ultimate result basically then at the end of the weekend. So it's really interesting to have all the different formats, but in the end it comes down to just getting the car and being as fast as you can and bringing it home at the end of the race.
Fabulous. Absolutely, absolutely. You're bang on right. Okay, cool. So tell me, Armaan, you've been driving for 4 years for Lamborghini Super Trofeo, and so how is the experience like to be driving such a highly powered car? And what are the car specs and modifications that you've made that are made in it?
So no, this is a built-up race car. It's not a convert.
Yeah.
It's not a road car that you can convert it. The Super Trofeo, like the GT3, they're both very similar. It's just that the Super Trofeo runs in a single make championship, and we race a GT3 with multiple other manufacturers, same car essentially. Uh, so yeah, it's a built-up race car. It has the original Huracan engine, which pulls out 620 horsepower, but
Wow.
it's a sequential race gearbox. The whole chassis. I mean, it's a full race frame, and it's only the shell that resembles the road car. Everything else, the dimensions are quite different, really. But again, to drive it was awesome. They built a really good race car. As you can see, the results have been phenomenal. We in the first year itself in 2015 we finished second in the championship, and then in 16 we actually ended up winning it at the last round in Valencia. It was a very good year. We had a lot of pace that year, but since then I moved. After I moved to another team, I ran with a young junior driver, so I was kind of coaching and racing with him. So and then I drove with a young girl who was coming up after that towards the end of that year. So it was mainly basically after from 2016 onwards, I was in the Lamborghini Squadra Corsa Junior Driver Program. So I would drive with the other young drivers coming up, or with the Lamborghini customers, in this quadricourse program. So we'll be more of a coach and a co-driver of sorts. So 17 was that, and then 2018, it was actually an all-Indian lineup where Anand Reddy, who was racing in India, who won quite a few championships here, and we put a deal together. We had been talking for a while, and we put a deal together, and we did about three race weekends in 2018, and we went with a very small unit. I put together a package where we leased a car, we got mechanics and an engineer at the very last minute. But we straight up in our first race, we qualified third or second, So, and we did the same. We repeated the same thing the next round. So that showed a lot of potential, and I had a very successful time with Lamborghini because again, for the 4 years, I think every year we had a race win and a couple of podiums. So it was a good experience. I still do a lot of work with them in terms of the customer experiences and whatnot. I still maintain that relationship, yeah, I think at least towards the end of my race, towards the end, the last few years was a lot of fun, a lot of success, and obviously driving nice cars. Can't complain about that.
Absolutely. What how lucky you are. But obviously, I mean, this luck is when you are capable, it's your capability. I mean, definitely that's how they picked you.
Yeah.
It's your talent and obviously also hard work and the right mindset and so many other variables around it. So you have driven for so many teams and races, both nationally and internationally. And so any difference you've found in the working style of the service teams in India and, service teams abroad? Any difference in, kind of their mindset, the working culture and all the stuff?
I mean, so any successful team, whether it's India, Asia, Europe, wherever it is, any team that wants, who's winning has the same mindset, which is to go out there and do the best. And also, obviously, that doesn't mean just the drivers. It means the engineers, the mechanics, the truck driver, could be anyone. The mentality is positive, but they have to go out and dominate. So if the work also translates to that, so in that perspective, everything is the same no matter where you race. But obviously, everything else, I mean, every region has its own, culture and also how they go about things, and so that's something to adapt to basically in terms of how one would go about a race weekend, how one would go about the debrief sessions, and obviously the language barrier and whatnot. So that is something to adapt to. But as long as the mentality, and the vibes of the personnel are on the same level, then everything else falls into place.
Totally. And you're currently also the team principal of Mumbai Falcons Racing Limited in the Formula Regional Asia Series, I think. So, what's
Yeah.
been your experience managing a team now? And, how do you select a driver? I mean, what's the selection criteria? I mean, what qualities you look for, in a driver when you select him or her in the team?
Yeah, so the two parts to that. I mean, I first started a team in 2018, actually, while I was still racing, because again, just to when the Formula Regional Asian Championship had started, again, just to help Indian drivers, have an Indian team who was based in Asia. So once they want to move on from India and once they want to take the next step, they're familiar faces that are there in the market that are there who are performing, and so it's easier as a transition. So we ran that with an Indian driver for 2 years, and then after we launched X1, basically Mumbai Falcons were a franchise who were part of X1 at the time, and obviously they saw the potential in motorsport and really got into it, with a lot of commitment, and so we ran it as a team in the Formula Regional Asian Championship in 2020 first, with two Indian drivers, Jahan Darwala and Kush Mehri. We got a bunch of wins that year in our first ever season as an Indian team racing internationally as the proper unit, with the full Indian lineup. And, it was great to get on the podium. We were fighting for the championship, but we ended up finishing third. So we knew we had to restructure, come back the following year and, go two steps higher, which eventually we did. Again, putting a team together, when you have good backers, you can also obviously look for talented drivers. You can look for competitive drivers, and when us along with our technical partners Prema, who are very well known in the junior junior Formula level. They're like, so when you have all the elements of the highest caliber, you attract the best talent as well. So we had a pool of drivers who were approaching us, and we kind of picked the best lot out who we thought would, and we were rightly right in that manner, where we made the right decision to get a good crop of young drivers. The three drivers that we picked, four actually, in Arthur Leclerc, Sebastian Montoya, Dino Beganovic, and Ollie Bayman, who basically came in and drove for us. We started off. We started off, quite decent. We started with pole and win with Sebastian, and then the other drivers were on the podium and scoring points. But it's only from weekend two that we started elevating and working as a team. And over the next 4 weekends, we kind of dominated, and we brought on the championship. We brought on the teams and the drivers. So I was the first for India as well. So it was a good stint. I mean, it was a month's worth of good work. It was 5 weeks of hard work, and it was great to bring the championship back. We set a target, and we brought it back home.
Okay, wonderful, wonderful. So who's your inspiration? Any role model that you have? And what are the values that you have or you like to imbibe from them? Any role model that you have?
You pick role models from different fields. When it comes to motorsport, there's so many people you looked up to. I was a kid, I look up to Ed Senna growing up. I was kind of obsessed with him at one point. You watch everything about the person. But again, after that, you notice, everyone else who comes up, and there are a lot of people who haven't achieved what their potential possibly could have been. So you look at them as well. You look at why they haven't, and you try to understand and try to look back and see where you are in that perspective as well. So it's hard to just. I mean, obviously, Senna is one that I would always say in terms of the motorsport element. But then you look at other sports as well. You have you have your Michael Jordans, you have your Muhammad Ali's, you have all these people who've done so much, and you look at what made them so great.
Right.
And you try and create the best version of yourself through that.
Fantastic. So, okay, so last question. So, what are the three things that you would like to, say to our audience? A message, like.
Oh, haven't I said enough already?
The aspiring athletes out there. So, any message that you like to convey to them?
I mean, I think they already. I mean, if aspiring athletes, they already know what they're doing. If you believe in something, just do it, but do it with a realistic mind. And if you're going to commit to something, give it 110%. Don't expect things to come your way just because you feel it's your birthright. But so go out there and earn it, and once you do that, things will fall into place, and you will get to where you want to.
Wonderful. Thank you. So now I want to come to the rapid fire questions.
Sure.
Are you ready for this?
Yes.
Okay, so we start now. Your favorite racer?
Senna.
Favorite quote?
Well, okay. There are two. One I don't think I can say on the show actually, but the second one is. I mean, the second one is if you see a gap in anything to do with life, you go for it, and you make the most of it. Whether it's a racetrack or whether it's in life in general.
Okay. Okay, so if you could live in any city in the world, where would it be?
Somewhere where it's warm and has a beach and a racetrack.
Oh, okay.
So my options are quite good.
One superpower you wish you had?
Where I could see the future and forget the past.
Oops, wow. Okay, what is your go-to workout?
HIT, the circuit training.
Mercedes, BMW, or Audi?
BMW.
Your favorite comfort food?
Indian or Asian?
Okay. The highest speed that you've ever driven?
Average speed or highest top speed? Because highest top speed on a circuit,
Yeah,
it's
highest
probably
top.
about 300. Highest top speed on a circuit is probably about 330. But I mean, if you're looking at if you're looking at when you do a drag or something, let's say a 3 and 30, yeah.
Summer or winter?
Some.
Any hobbies?
Yeah, there's water sports, cricket, squash, cycling.
Favorite racing circuit?
There's Autopolis, Brands Hatch, Spa. Yeah, to name a few.
One. Your top favorite.
Okay, let's go with Autopolis, Japan.
Okay. The best thing about racing?
One thing. You got to beat yourself most of the time. Or you just got to get to drive the best cars possible and drive them to the absolute limit.
Fantastic. Your favorite supercar?
Right now it is the GT2 RS.
One hidden talent?
One hidden talent. Wow. You got me, I don't know. I can ride a bike pretty well.
You can drive pretty well. Wow. Okay. Okay. Books or movies?
Movies.
Best race memory?
Winning the championship. Yeah, couple of really good races that I have in mind, which don't leave you.
What inspires you the most?
I guess right now, just being where I am and looking at what I'm doing, what I'm trying to build. Yeah.
Most embarrassing moment?
Oh, lots. Holding my kid bags on a car bonnet and falling off while the car's moving, and then having to go testing after that.
Okay. Proudest accomplishment so far?
I guess just having a successful racing career that lasted 16, 17 years with a lot of wins, and also just building something for myself, I guess. Yeah.
Fantastic. And with this, we come to the end of this discussion. Thank you, Armaan, for joining me in this absolutely fabulous episode. And thank you all for listening to today's episode with your host, Garima Avtar. If you like this episode, then subscribe to my podcast for more new episodes and a deeper dive into the world of motivation and sports psychology. See you in the next one. Have a great day. Bye.